Hey everybody, it's Jon Meyers from Right Better Together. We're interrupting the internet to tell them something. Hey, look everybody, it's Emily Brooks. What are we telling them?
So our book, Write Anyway, Giving Yourself Permission to Write No Matter What,
This book?
has always been available on Amazon, paperback and ebook. But
Yes.
now it's going to be available on Kindle Unlimited.
Yay. That was a request from more than one reader. They were waiting for it to come on Kindle Unlimited.
So yeah, check it out on Kindle Unlimited.
Cool. Welcome everybody to Right Better Together. Hey, look everybody. Oh, hey, I don't even know what I'm doing. Hey.
This is the second time that's happened.
This is day 10 with no caffeine. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers.
Hey. How'd you get out of your bubble this week?
Are we just we're just skipping everything today?
Oh, wait. What are we talking about today?
We are going to continue our conversation about self-doubt today.
Oh.
We're also, as usual, going to have listener response. We're going to have a new call to action. We're going to do Hey Jon Meyers, where I teach Jon Meyers something.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to have the final act where we play a silly game.
Yes.
And get out of our bubble.
And
crying baby?
And
well, I don't know what you're...
This is the last time they're going to see you for a while.
Oh, I thought we were still talking about the agenda. Yeah. This is my no, not penultimate, ultimate, I guess, kind of episode before maternity. Well, I'm doing like an early maternity leave so that I can do more prep for Arthur and getting nesting and all of that.
Yeah, in the last episode we talked about Arthur in it, but we didn't say who Arthur was.
The third mysterious host of the podcast. So I'm about to retreat into my bubble, but I have been getting out of my bubble. So, as usual, I've had tons of doctor's appointments. I'm not going to go into those. Everything's fine. And then we had a Palm Sunday picnic at our church. And I've never seen more babies and children.
They came out just for Palm Sunday.
I was like, I didn't even know we had this many. I think a lot of them were visitors and like people in the community, which is awesome. But they did an egg hunt. And it was like, it wasn't a hunt. It was like you could see a field of sparkling eggs and then just kids racing to get as many as they possibly could. But everybody kept looking at me and going, this is going to be you next year. This is you next year. A year from now, you know, you'll have Arthur. He's going to be one and running around with all the rest of the kids.
Will he be running around or will he be crawling around?
He'll be... probably waddling.
Falling over onto an egg.
Yeah.
And they were plastic eggs, not real eggs.
Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a glimpse into my future is what it was.
Every day it's going to be an Easter egg hunt at your house.
We grew up, I don't know, because you said real eggs. We grew up where my parents we would get together and we would dye the eggs and like paint them and decorate them like boiled eggs. And then they would leave them in the fridge. And then the Easter bunny would take them out and hide them around the house. And that was a real hunt because we weren't very good at looking. And there's videos of us just like staring right at the egg and just like not seeing it.
When did the Easter bunny do this? In the middle of the night? Like when Santa Claus came, like in the middle of the night?
Yeah, when he brought the Easter baskets with the hollowed out chocolate bunnies and the what are the chicken marshmallow things that are really weird and blow up in the microwave?
My favorite things. Chocolate covered marshmallow things. Wow, that's quite the elaborate.
This is coming out after Easter too, but you know,
Easter. 2 or 3 weeks after Easter. Which is, so next week, depending on, or it could be in 2 weeks, I'm not sure yet, when Stephanie Jones will be joining me, we'll be recording her first episode on Dingus Day. So So I
She's
don't get to go through a second dingus day with you, which makes me very sad because
oh,
last I had to teach you about it last year,
yeah,
and we're just coming up on the time where we would have been doing the second time of
that's
things.
crazy.
I know, and but she's already gonna know about it because she's from up north in
Yeah.
Chicagoland, so she'll already know about it. She might teach me something.
Are you gonna come in with your willow branches?
They're actually still up there.
Awesome. So, how did you get out of your bubble?
Look at that right
Wow.
there.
Oh, those are actually pretty nice.
Yep, they're still up there for a whole year. So I went on my stupid walk now that the floods are gone. And
Oh man.
they're actually not gone, but my
Yeah.
neighborhood, they're gone. And I know we talked about this before, but I don't know that I showed it before. This is what I wanted to show you. We talked about the what is my problem? I'll put it up on the screen, but
Yeah.
um
It looks like a pantry.
it's a pantry
Yeah.
like the free library. We talked about those, but
Oh
I
yes.
went and filled it up. It was really messy too. Like whoever the person before me that put stuff in it, they just like threw stuff in there like a broken box of macaroni and cheese. Like how is a homeless person supposed to cook a box of macaroni and cheese? I don't know. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's not.
yeah, I put in things that were useful. And then there was instant oatmeal in there, which a homeless person could do because they can go get some hot water. But who wants instant oatmeal?
My husband.
Well, yuck.
Like the packets
Yeah.
with all the sugar and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I grew up on that stuff.
Oh, yuck. I was thinking someone that hasn't eaten for days, so they don't care what they get to eat, right?
Oh no, that's a treat
They'd be
in my family.
they'd be appreciative, but like I would be like, I walked all the way over here, so it's behind one of the Starbucks. I walked all the way over here, and then this is what I get. Oh my goodness! But you'd
Wow.
be okay with it. But more importantly, I have a viewer response,
Ooh.
and our book got out of its bubble. I
Whoa.
have a viewer response for our book, and there's our book held by
Hey.
some guy named Andrew. Where is Andrew? Funny you should ask. Andrew works at the Ocean Springs Municipal Library, and our book is now available at the Ocean Springs Municipal Library for anyone on the Gulf Coast. They can go check it out.
What?
And if you look real close, you can't no skateboarding, so don't take your skateboard to the library. And
That's amazing. Our
leave your
book's in a
skateboard.
library.
Yeah, the first library apparently. Our viewer Smiley Rhinelander is going to take 5 of them to the Pascagoula Library,
Oh
and
my
so
goodness.
that was the first one. Biloxi, I think, was one of them.
That's
So it will be
amazing.
in 5 libraries on the Gulf Coast.
I feel like I should say, in case we have any new listeners, that this is our book, Write Anyway, giving yourself permission to write no matter what,
This book right here.
which is, I like to call it the mental health book for writers.
Oh, that's a good thing I call it.
So that's awesome. It's in a library now.
Yeah.
So we are talking about self doubt today.
Oh. I think the reason we decided to do a second episode of this is we talked about it and we talked about some things that you can do.
Lucy had a lot of great
Yeah.
tips and stuff.
The 3 that you could get to kick yourself out of it. And then since we recorded that one, the episode with Meredith Lyons on depression came out, and we talked about some red flags and things to notice, and we talked about a couple tips. But I wanted to talk, since Emily's so good about writing about these things on her blog, I wanted to talk about the topic some more, but some more tips. Like, everyone's depression is different, first of
Yeah.
all, but self-doubt can lead to depression. And then what can you do as a stopgap in between that? What can some people, help me with the language, what can some people do that might be a good good way to cut it off at the pass, or to navigate,
Yeah.
or not, or to just survive through it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I left the last conversation with so many more thoughts on it. And I felt like it'd be good to just carry on the conversation. So, one of the things that came to mind in the last episode, I think I said something along the lines of I don't think self-doubt is ever good. And I don't know if I really believe that. I think that self-doubt is an emotion like sadness or um, worry or fear that aren't necessarily good or bad, but that can be turned into something bad, right? That can become very unhealthy very quickly. I think self doubt initially is just a natural response to feeling like you didn't do your best or wondering if you can do your best in the future. Um, I don't think we need to be like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling self doubt and that's bad. I think, but we can turn it into something more productive and helpful rather than dwelling on it and letting it become a negative emotion of like that makes us stagnant. It's kind of like when you're afraid, like if you're afraid, that's a natural feeling, but are you going to let that fear stop you or are you going to let that fear like, are you going to address that fear and go, okay, why am I feeling this way and what can I do about it? So I think self doubt, if it's coming from, I didn't do as good as I could have, or I'm worried I won't be able to do my best, both of those are things that we can approach pretty reasonably, I think, and logically. So if we're like, I didn't do the best that I could have, then we might go, well, I am growing in this area. So for writing, like I'm becoming a better writer. And the fact that I noticed that I didn't do maybe as well as I thought I could is actually a sign that I'm growing to discern good writing from myself and what that looks like.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, you wouldn't have known that to even
Right.
observe that.
Exactly. Yeah, look back on something you wrote a couple of years ago that you thought was really good, and you'll probably see, oh, it actually, I've learned a lot since then. So I think that can be a really good way to actually address that self doubt, and then to think, turn it into something productive. How can I do better next time? And then sometimes I think we have these overwhelming feelings of self doubt where it's just like nothing I do works and nothing I ever do will work. I kind of confessed to that last time that I feel that a lot. It was like, it's more of a vague feeling. And so I think when you have those vague feelings, you have to turn it into something specific. What are you actually worried about? And how can you address that logically? So if I'm like, oh, nothing I ever do works, you can go, okay, so what did I do? What were the effect, like what were the results? What can I do better? And again, it's just kind of like shifting it into curiosity instead of like this big vague overwhelming feeling that you don't know what to do with. Do you, because we talked about how you don't really experience self-doubt, but I'm sure like, well, maybe I'm not sure.
I've been surrounded by people. I've been
Yeah.
in relationships with people who, am I a magnet for people with self doubt? um, who deal with this on a daily basis. So I'm
So if you
familiar
don't
with it.
deal with self-doubt, is it because your mind is automatically going to the logical side of it? Like you kind of skip ahead?
Well, when you said that earlier, I was actually thinking that. Do I do that or do I think now that a year ago I didn't have this vocabulary, but now I think that my brain goes to like what you were just saying, it's a variation on the thing that your therapist and that Lucy has said about what's the word, it's not everything or I'm not good at anything. It's like you said, make it one thing. And then
Yeah.
what's the worst thing that would happen with that one thing? And that the worst never happens. So I think
Yeah.
I think that's my default. Like I don't need to go through that process because I'm just like what are the odds that's gonna
Yeah.
my default is something positive is going to come out of it because it
Yeah.
takes the same amount of energy to okay, say that sentence that you just said about anything. I'm not good at anything.
Yeah, nothing I do works. Nothing I ever do will ever work.
Okay, well, it takes the same amount of energy to say that as to say everything I do is so awesome.
Yeah.
And both sentences have some truth in them. So there's some things you do
Yeah.
that don't work out, but if it does with me, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, and I'm and then it doesn't work out. Oh well, but it could have, or I wouldn't have tried it in the first place.
It sounds like, and I don't want to like interpret you, so, but I'm wondering if it's like a, you don't take it personally.
Correct, and I don't care. This is weird, but I don't. My pastor's the same way. I really don't care what you think about me. I mean, I
Mm,
do, but because I'm not rude. But when you know you're like, he knows scripture inside and out, right? And so if someone were to say, no, this means this, he really like, he'll listen and he's compassionate because he's a pastor, but you're wrong. It doesn't say that.
right.
And
Right.
so it, if someone said the last article that I wrote for a magazine isn't any good, I already know that it's good or I wouldn't have submitted it.
Right.
So you're just wrong. Not you personally. But you know what I mean? I already know that it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think that's a, yeah, that's great. I wish everybody had that confidence. And that confidence doesn't come from like just being confident. Like you had to grow that skill and become like, oh yeah, this is this is good. I know it's good.
well, no, over the last no, I was born with it, man. And which is interesting because there's three of us, there's three boys, there's three brothers, and I'm the oldest. And my middle brother, I'm a hard worker too, but he's a hard worker. Like if he's not good at something, he's the sports guy and he'll do drills 24/7 for
Mm,
for until he is good at it.
yeah.
And then my younger brother, he's more like me where he's like, I don't care if you think I'm not good at it, I already know I am. And but he didn't learn how to play guitar until he was in his 30s or 40s, and now he's good at it. And but it never crossed his mind that he might not be able to learn it.
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
that just never crossed his mind. So I I
I
don't know.
think
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was thinking over the last week when we talked about this before. I say I don't care what you think, not you personally, and but when Jammin said, "Oh, that was a great story," because I told him my story, I mentioned that like one sentence last week. Uh, it did mean a lot because he's a storyteller.
Yeah.
So for another storyteller to say you're a good storyteller, you are. That's like when people say, uh, uh, "You're not supposed to judge." The Bible doesn't say don't judge. It says don't judge. Judge not lest ye be judged. Like don't judge about things that you don't know about, right? But if a drywaller comes in here and says this drywall is hung terribly,
Right.
he
That
has the
means a bit more.
knowledge to know it was hung terribly, where
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I can't go in there and I shouldn't judge that, but I can judge a story and I can judge a book cover, the effectiveness of a book cover. But
Right.
uh I I'm not a car mechanic, but another car mechanic can judge the work of the previous car mechanic. There's
Yeah.
no, of course you can do that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm here. Okay, so I've got two things, and I'm going to try to remember both of them. One is it's again what I'm hearing is there's also like that kind of like practical side to you and your brothers of this is just part of the experience of growing and learning, that if something feels hard, it's because it is hard. And if something like when you're learning the guitar and you're like, you know, it's difficult and it's you're not playing beautifully immediately, that it's just that's just part of like that's part of the experience. And I think part of self-doubt or managing self-doubt is actually being realistic and practical about what stage you're in and managing your expectations.
It's funny you said expectations because that was going to be the next thing that I was going to talk about.
Mm,
But I'm not going to interrupt you. But that when you're on day one of learning how to play the guitar, I don't think any of the Myers boys would go. But just imagine, I like a year from now, I'm going
yeah.
to be the best at it. I don't think this is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So there's not a future expectation of either way. But it's also I'm not gonna there's no future expectation of, oh, I'm gonna suck at this either. Which there are people that have that self doubt. Okay, go ahead.
And that's part of what we talk about all the time with the process, like focusing on the process and just enjoying each stage. There's one thing that Trish Blackwell talks about. She's the confidence coach from the Confidence podcast. I quote her a lot. But she will, and this is the harsher side of it, where she'll say she has clients who will be like, "Well, I've been working on my business or doing such and such for 6 years or whatever, and nothing has ever happened." And she goes, "Look at those 6 years. Did you actually work on that for 6 years, or did you work on it intermittently with half effort for 6 years?" And I think with the practical side of it, again, that sounds harsh, but I think you do have to sometimes be practical, because I've had those kind of same thoughts where it's like, "Oh, I've been doing this for how long, however long," but I haven't been, because if I actually look at the time that I've spent, not all of my time was going to that thing, right? So you may have been working on something for 6 years, but you still may be technically only a year into it.
There's people that say, I've been working on a screenplay for 10 years. No,
Yeah.
10 years ago they worked on it for 3
Yeah.
months. And now
Exactly.
they haven't done anything but pull it up and looked at it.
Right. So again, there's like that kind of, you gotta be practical with yourself and logical over what stage you're in. The other thing that I heard, and I just said, I was like, I want to try to remember the two things, and what was the other one? So thinking practically, not worrying about what other people think. Oh, I'm so sad right now. I should have had a notebook next to me and
I always
written that
forget
down.
what I'm trying to talk about. I'm so bad at this.
Oh, what was it? Oh man. Well, what do you have? What do you have?
I want to know what the second point is.
I do too.
You didn't take a note or anything?
I was trying to, and I couldn't find any paper to write it down on. Okay, let me just meditate on it for a second. So you're talking about your brothers playing the guitar.
Sports, getting it right, doing it over and over and over until you get it right. Make up a new second one.
It was a good one. Maybe if we keep talking, it'll come up.
So before we started recording, we had a pre-meeting. We had our business meeting, and there were so many times where you're like, I when we're talking about expectations, you were managing expectations, and you were like, I don't think that I can do this,
Mm.
or I don't want to say that I'm going to do this, and those are healthy. But in the through the lens of this episode, would I ever say though, like I'm looking at
Mm.
this about me, not about you. And I'm thinking, because what I just said, it takes the same amount of energy of I'm not gonna to say, it takes the same amount of energy to say, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You never said I can't do XYZ. You said don't count on me to do XYZ. And
Yeah.
so those are two different things. Okay. So like I got out of the out of the blue email of I had to get these three. I don't want to put any details in here. I had to get these 3 videos done without your help on my
Yeah.
own, and I I managed the person that wanted those expectations by saying I'm doing these on my own, so it's going to take longer than if I had Emily to help me, but I'll get them to you sooner rather than later. And I
Mhm.
wound up somewhere in between sooner and later.
Mhm.
And I didn't give a specific date, and I just said I'll get them to you as soon as I can, and I did, and they took me a long time, and so I did the best I could on them, and the person that got them said, "Yeah, these are great. I'll use them next month." So I did them, and they got done, and so I hit my own fake self-imposed deadline that I never set a deadline out loud, that's also unlike me. Normally, I'll put it on the calendar and it'll be done by that date. But I knew that I had to learn. I had to learn how to do so much of it. I guess I'll just leave it at that. They got done.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is I feel like so yes, you committed to something because you were like, I know I can do it. But I also feel like there have been times together where we've had to decide on things that we couldn't do. Like maybe somebody asked something of us and we were like, we can't. And it's not because we couldn't do it ever. It's that like right now our priorities have like we've already set priorities. There's a book that I recommended on my blog this week called The Best Yes by Lisa Turkhurst. And it's all about that, like putting your efforts where they will be used best. Instead of just saying yes to everything. Like you may be able to do those things, but you're gonna get burned out, or maybe you overcommitted and you're not able to put the best effort into the things that you committed to.
You didn't know this, but when I was a baby Christian, because I didn't get saved until I was an adult, she was the first one of the internet was still new, and she was one of the first people I followed.
Oh wow.
So I've been with
She's
her all
very
through her whole life for the last however many
that's great.
years.
She's very wise.
Yes, she is. Um, yeah, that's great. The- I agree with anything that comes out of. I shouldn't say that. I agree with most things that come out of her mouth. Guess what?
What?
This is crazy.
What?
I just got an email while we were talking. Ready?
Okay.
I haven't read it, so you're going to hear it first
Oh,
for
okay.
me. Dear John, first of all, well, I'm Jon Meyers. What are they diluting my brand for? Thank you for entering our annual chapbook prize competition. Unfortunately, your manuscript did not win publication, but
Mm.
we appreciated the opportunity to read it. We always expect an amazingly high level of quality in these books, and this year's entries did not disappoint. 2,622 manuscripts were entered, and the variety and quality seemed to be higher than it ever has been before. After much deliberation, we selected 3 winners for 2025. Haunt Me by Jose Medina, Backlit by Liz Robbins, The Soft Black Stars by Matthew Smith. For more information on those poets, go to our announcement page. 2,500 plus manuscripts submitted translates into roughly 50,000 individual poems that
Oh
we've
my.
read over the last 3 months.
Wow.
We also still have no idea which manuscript is yours because they were all read blindly. So if
Oh
you would
wow.
like to enter a revised version next year, you're also free to do that. I'm just trying to anticipate what are always common questions. Always, thank you again for entering the competition. I hope you enjoy the winners and your subscription to Rattle. And that's from
Wow.
Tim, the publisher of Rattle. Um,
Well, how appropriate. How
I
do you
know.
feel?
So everything happens for a reason. Here's the latest copy of Rattle, by the way.
Nice.
And I showed you last year's chapbook that was beautiful. That's about loss and grieving, and by Kat Lehman. And so it's I don't did I ever share it with you before I submitted it?
Yeah.
it
Oh, I didn't get to read it.
all right, but it's still good.
Right.
And so I'm not going to take the rejection personally. And but there are people that would. There'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, I knew. There are people who go, oh, I just hit enter on this submission. I know nothing's going to come of it. It takes the same amount of energy to go, nothing's going to come of it as, hey, something might come of it when they hit
Yeah.
submit.
Yeah.
And so when I hit submit, I'm like, you never know. Maybe something will come of it, but it's fine. And I won't resubmit it. I'll submit a different one.
Yeah.
But anyway, there you go.
I mean, that's such a great attitude to have. And it makes me wonder too if sometimes our self doubt makes us self sabotage before we can even get the
Or they
answer.
won't submit it, or they
Yeah, where
won't
you
turn in it.
don't. In fact, that's actually become a big phrase that I've seen that editors and agents use of don't self reject yourself. Like, don't self reject. So I've seen this a couple times on like when they have a list of things they're looking for where they say, don't self reject. If you think we might be interested, go ahead and send it our way. Now, take that with a grain of salt because you don't want to send like your fantasy short story to the poetry people, right?
Right.
But they're like, just try it. And don't let that self doubt keep you from trying. And I know the feeling of like worrying about those emails coming in, but it's worth it. And I think you can learn to be like Jon Meyers and just go, you know what? It's still good. But if you're self-sabotaging before you even turn it in and you're questioning if it's good or not, because you're like, well, it's not going to get published anyway, so I'm not going to do this final revision or I'm not going to do this final, you know what I mean? Like then you're going to like you're always going to question it and those rejections are going to seem like they're just confirming what you already thought. So put the best effort into it so that you go, this was the best I could do, and then submit it.
And I did show it. So I showed it to you and I showed it to Heather. So I did show it to a couple real poets
Mm-hmm.
and one of them a PhD. And the only note that, first of all, both of them said it was great and they weren't saying it. They're both people that would say if it wasn't, they would say it wasn't. And the only note that I got from the PhD was one of the titles on one of them. And so we workshopped that title,
Oh,
and I don't want to say it's better or worse. It it passed the PhD person's
yeah.
inspection.
I just think that is important too, because when I said, make sure you revise it and all of that, that doesn't mean you fall into the perfectionism of if this sentence isn't perfect, then it'll never be published, or because you could have said, oh man, if we had just revised that title a little bit longer, then it wouldn't have been accepted, and that's usually not true.
And yet last week we talked about my first sentence on the of my novel that I'm
Hmm.
like, and it's a week later. I still don't have the right first
Yeah,
sentence, but I
right.
will. And
But that's different from like placing all of your hopes
I
on
know
a
I'm
thing.
putting too
Yeah,
much value on that one sentence.
right. Yeah,
Interesting. Did you remember your other thing?
I really wish I could.
Well, here's what I wanted to say, and that some of this I purposely kept my mouth shut, and while you were doing your opening salvo, because some of this is aligned with this. So I was watching Holy Spirit match these up. And so this takes what you said and then um goes a little bit. It's in the same zip code, different street address. Did you remember something? I saw you write something down.
I remembered.
Okay, go ahead and say your thing before I
No,
do
you
this
should
then.
go. Go
No,
ahead.
I want you, because what if it has something to do with this? This is the
Okay.
capper.
So this is what it was.
Okay, I'm getting goosebumps.
You and when you were talking about you and your brothers and how you don't have the self doubt, but you do continually strive to get better,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because you were like, I've had this feeling since childhood that I'm good at what I do, but that doesn't mean that you have stayed the same writer that you were when you were 15, right? You've continually grown as a writer. So there's other things that must motivate you besides self doubt. So like I was thinking about this with we've talked a lot about how have been highly motivated by Kirsten Modulin. Both of us have.
True.
that doesn't come from self-doubt. We weren't like, oh man, Kirsten Modulin, she's so great. I'll never be that great.
Correct.
Or like, right? It was just, wow, that's so inspiring. I can learn from that. And so there have to be other motivators besides self-doubt that when you do experience self-doubt, maybe you can transition to. Like I talked about trading self-doubt for curiosity. It may be trading self-doubt for um like if you are jealous of somebody, turning that into being inspired by somebody. So like what are like I'm trying to think of other like motivators for I want to get better, but I'm not actually like feeling bad about it. Is that what you were going to talk about? I love it.
I'm shaking my head yes. So I'm like, see, you need to go ahead and do the thing. So
That's
we've
so
talked
funny.
about Sarah Jackson from Sarah Jackson Coaching before.
Mhm.
Um, what do you want to call it? Inspirational. I don't know how to pronounce the word somatic expert.
Oh, like the tapping and the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So since we decided last week that we're going to do one more episode, uh, somewhere in a couple days ago, I went to her page and her latest post was right on this topic. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And then you had to you had to introduce this properly by the way by what you just said, the thing you uh, waited to say right before this. My body's not overreacting, it's remembering. That's the pull quote at the top. When something small sets off a big reaction, tears, panic, anger, overwhelming fear, you might feel like you're too much. But this isn't drama, it's protection. It's your body remembering what it felt like to be blamed, ignored, abandoned, or unsafe. Sometimes that shows up in your sensations: a racing heart, a tight chest, nausea, exhaustion. Sometimes it shows up in your emotions: shame, fear, grief that feels much bigger than the moment. And sometimes it's in your thoughts. If I don't get it perfect, everything will fall apart. If I don't fix this now, they'll all leave. It's all my fault. But here's how to move into healing. Instead of asking what's wrong with me, ask what would help me feel safe and nourished right now. Oh, nourished. What do I need in this moment, and can I offer it without judgment? Maybe it's using your voice. Maybe it's taking a breath outside. Maybe it's saying no, letting yourself be held, moving, praying, resting, letting the feeling have space without rushing to fix it. Each of these is a way home. This is how we rewire: by responding to old pain with new patterns, by staying curious, by offering care where there used to be fear. Bit by bit, that's how we teach the body this moment is different. And if you want to go further in that, just start following Sarah Jackson Coaching on Instagram and she'll take it from there.
That's good.
Isn't that perfect?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you were talking about. It's that thing of just do the one thing different when you're stuck in that moment. If you just do that one thing.
Yeah, turn it into something else. Um I think like
Break the pattern.
yeah, break the pattern. Yeah, that was the word. For sure. So like when you're feeling self-doubt, how can you turn that into something motivating? Or now I'm thinking like if self-doubt can be a pattern, because I do think it can be that we fall into particularly some people like I've experienced your automatic reaction to things being self-doubt. But when you can learn how to shift that more quickly each time, then you're creating new reactions to similar stimuli. But it's like, okay, next time I'll feel a little bit different because I'll have trained myself to think differently about it. It's that rewiring.
And rewiring in a way that you don't have to fix it. You just have
Yeah.
to live in it.
And no, it's okay. Like one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately that's probably going to come up on my blog is the way that we try to fix our feelings really fast. Especially around other people. Like if we're feeling bad, it's like, I'm so sorry, I'm feeling bad. I know I shouldn't feel this way. I'll be okay or whatever. And it's like, it's okay to feel bad. And if someone's like, hey, don't worry, don't feel bad, it's going to be okay, then it's okay to say, no, I'm going to feel bad for a little bit. And it's okay. Like, it's okay that I'm feeling bad. We don't have to fix it right now.
Set your Pomodoro timer.
Yeah, set your timer.
I'm gonna feel bad for 5 minutes. And that's a beautiful purple one that we are offering on our page, by the way.
I know. Thank you. I picked that out. Writebettertogether.com/shop. Yeah, actually that's something my therapist did teach me is like, it's okay to sit with anxiety too. And you can like set a timer and just go, I'm just gonna let it pass through because usually it doesn't last that long. And then you go, okay, I've done that. I'm not gonna sit with it anymore. I'm gonna go move on to do the next thing.
Even if it's that one little thing to break the pattern.
Yeah.
But you've talked about before where like the whole day you just sat on the couch the whole day. Well,
Right.
that like it had you set the timer, you would have sat on the couch for an hour or 20 minutes. Oh, like I don't
Right.
know. There's no right
And
amount of
like
time, but
and especially when it comes to big feelings, like we're talking about self-doubt, but if it's like grief or something, like you don't have to rush
no.
through that, right? But there are things I think that you can do to stay healthy during those emotions.
With the grief, you have to set a hourglass, not a Pomodoro
Right,
timer.
like take it slow.
Do we have one of those on our page?
No. Like a big sand timer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Well,
I hope that
help somebody.
helped. Yeah. Anything else?
I'm just sitting in the moment.
Okay.
I'm sitting in my lack of self-doubt.
So, call to action talked about turning jealousy into inspiration. So, I want you to think of an author who really inspires you that you think, like, maybe I would like to be like that author one day. And instead of being jealous, be inspired by them and share with us why you're inspired by them. Jon Meyers is holding up the Paper
Jammins.
Orchestra by Orchestra, not Orchestra. Paper Orchestra by Michael Jamin. We've talked so much about Kirsten Modulin. Listen to that episode and be inspired by her. But tell us about this person and why you're inspired by them and what you can practically do to model them in some way.
I mentioned it last week on the page, but on the last week's episode, but on our Facebook page and or on our Instagram, or we've had more and more people interacting with our guests, and that happened when you said that about something, letting someone else model or inspire you. We had that this week with people. A couple people responded to Meredith Lyons,
Yeah.
and she responded back, and it was so nice to whatever facilitate that connection between them.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So speaking of that, if you
Yeah.
want to share those responses, you can go to our social media. We have Write Better Together on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on X. And when we share these episodes, we share our calls to action. So those are places where you can respond and kind of join a conversation. You can also respond in the YouTube comments. You can also go to the show notes of this episode at writebettertogether.com/podcast.
Wonderful. This is going to be the last installment of Why Your Baby Might Be Crying.
Oh,
Now I'm going to cry. This is going to break your heart when it happens, too.
no.
He didn't want to hold my hand on the way home from daycare. Oh, now you're
That
going
is
to cry.
heartbreaking.
You're both going to cry
Yeah,
on
I was
that
like, that
day.
would cause many people to cry. Oh,
That's the
man.
last one. Thank
Well,
you,
this is
Greg
not the
Pembroke.
last. Hey, Jon Meyers.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Have you ever heard of Homophily?
Have I ever? Is that the Greek god of pasta? I don't know.
So there's this thing that you have said multiple times on the podcast that you become like, what is it, your closest 5 friends or something?
Yes.
Yes. So there's actually like research behind this.
Okay.
Um, I am gonna go ahead and say that this topic came from I was watching an Instagram video that I saved on my phone, and that I was going to talk about what this woman said, and then it disappeared. And so I was doing last minute research trying to find what she said, and I couldn't find it. But she was talking about the science behind when you're around somebody a lot that you like, people you like to hang out with, and you start talking like each other.
So that word that you said, that's this concept?
It is related to it.
Oh, okay.
Homophily is the concept that you end up hanging out around people who are like you,
Oh,
but also that you can become like the people that you are around.
okay.
And I've got several articles up, but essentially it's they're talking about how like we do kind of like morph into the people that we're around. But the most interesting one I found was actually that we influence each other's health. And I witnessed this at the picnic that I was talking about earlier. So I was like, there's a connection here, because there I was sitting with some guy, like my husband and some of our friends, and they started talking about their health goals and fitness goals and how they could inspire each other and like be accountable to each other with their health. And it was exactly what this article is talking about from the National Library of Medicine. It's called Understanding Health Decision Making and Exploration of Homophily. And it's this idea of that when you hang out with people who make certain health decisions, you're more likely to make those same decisions. So, and if you are around people with certain health issues, so the reverse is also true. If you are living unhealthy lifestyles around each other, you're more likely to stay in those unhealthy lifestyles. You're also more, this is just different, besides health, you're more likely to have the same political opinions. And that could be, do you choose your friends based on their political opinions, or do you kind of morph around each other and maybe increase each other's opinions that you already had? Other people affect your mood. I think that's an obvious one. And then, like, they affect how you talk. And if you, what this woman was saying in the Instagram video is that when you start talking about or talking like somebody or doing mannerisms like somebody else, it's because you like them. Not, and it doesn't have to be romantic. Like, it could just be like, I enjoy being around this person. I think this person's funny. So I end up imitating what they do. Like, my sisters and I have really similar little things that we do that I learned from them. My husband and I do things really similarly. I've noticed you and I sometimes I'll say something and be like, I sounded like Jon Meyers, and you'll say something, you're like, oh, that was like Emily.
Now, yeah, now I sound like Emily. Yep.
So I thought it was especially relevant, since we talk about getting out of your bubble and being around other people, that it's a cautionary tale as well as an inspirational one.
I think it's respect when,
Oh yeah.
so there, like you said, because I respect you, or there was this guy the first time I went to college, and who was a senior and I was a freshman, and my cadence of how I talked started turning into his cadence.
Oh, that's
Mark
amazing.
Mark Deathridge, and I haven't talked to him since then. And but he was. We were talking earlier about logic. He was very logical. Everything he said made sense, and I wasn't doing a Mark Deathridge impersonation. It just I started talking in that same pattern. I don't
Yeah,
now,
it's
but
so interesting. Or like laughing like somebody.
yeah.
I've noticed like my husband's laugh has changed slightly from being
Oh,
around certain friends. Or actually at the picnic, he said a quote, like a joke that I normally say. And I
oh,
kind of looked at him and I was like, "You took that from me." But like not in a you stole that from me, but like
no.
that's funny that you did that.
Admiration and respect.
Yeah. So if somebody starts mimicking you, like that should make you feel like that person's paying attention and they like me. So
And then also, like you said, it's also cautionary. There there's some people you got to cut out, man. You got to cut them out of your life.
Yeah, they talked about that with mood, which I think you have to be careful because it's easy to cut off people who are kind of like struggling. And those are like the last people that need to be cut off, right? But I mean, this we could have a whole conversation about boundaries and stuff like that. There's a balance for sure.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If you're the positive one, you kind of have a responsibility to be around the negative one.
Yeah.
But there's limits, and you have to have boundaries because
Right.
they can be a giant time suck, and then you don't want to turn into them.
Right. It's yeah,
So
definitely like a balance for sure on that. But also, I think too, be aware of how other people are influencing you. Like, especially when it says you have the same political opinions or the same health. Like, how are these? How it's easy to normalize things when you're in a group of people who are all the same, and then you encounter other people and you think they're weird or they're different or they're not, and that's not true. It's just you haven't like encountered different opinions. And so I think it's important to be around people who have different opinions and um, different approaches to things because that's really healthy too and can be really inspiring.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's great. I learned something,
Cool. Homophily.
and I'm going to continue to learn because you'll be popping in with these.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay. So I think that means you all should subscribe. I caught myself this time. Usually I skip it and then I this is the part of the show where I awkwardly suggest that if you all are enjoying this content and you are getting something out of it, that you subscribe wherever you're listening. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for updates on things by going to writebettertogether.com and subscribing in the little box at the bottom of the homepage. And also, if you want extra content, you can go to our Patreon, Write Better Together, and get bonus episodes.
Perfect. Chef's kiss.
Yay.
When we started a year ago, we wouldn't have said chef's kiss. We would have said, "Oh, that was fire," I guess. The other day I saw someone that said that song slaps. I'm like, what are you from 3 years ago? Like, were people still saying a song slaps? You would say chef's kiss to that song now. And
Things change much more quickly now than they used to.
depending on how the people they hang around with.
Yes.
That's how that
Yeah.
happens.
My friend who's a teacher says he can't keep up with his students, but he's more ahead than the rest of us. It's time for the final act.
Today, you will be playing for this expired bag of sweet carrot goldfish veggie crackers that I found. It had fallen behind my pantry and it expired 2 years ago, June 2022, almost 3 years ago. Do you think it's still good? It's in a foil
Probably,
pouch.
honestly.
It well, it doesn't have, it's no artificial flavors or coloring or anything. It's made out of carrots. It's not. That's why I got discontinued. I used to love these things. So that's your prize.
Yay,
What will you be
me.
playing? Huh?
Very motivating.
And today, as the final game that you'll be playing for a while, you and Arthur get to play.
Oh.
So, dan, 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 dan,
Oh,
dan,
no.
dan, dan, dan. I've returned to our roots, to our beginning. Tell the people what I'm holding up.
He's holding up Baggy,
Poor Baggy.
who looks bigger than usual, or maybe just closer.
It's just not wadded up because I pushed the
Okay.
eyeballs. It's the same bet.
Yes,
She's
this
the
is the
same.
game that we began playing at the beginning of our show.
And then you killed her. A single mom. Now you're gonna be a married mom. Maybe she'll have disdain for you because you're married and she's still a single mom.
Oh, man.
So, you know the old game, for those people that weren't familiar with the old game, you had to guess what letter I'm going to pull out of Baggy. There are 99 Scrabble tiles inside Baggy. And so today, I'm taking the game to a whole nother level.
Wow.
You will pick a letter. Then Arthur will pick a letter and see if you get those right. And then we're going to do something with those two letters. So to
Oh,
actually have a point to it.
okay.
All right. So here we go. Swirl the letters. Emily, which letter am I going to pull out?
L.
Oh. Oh, man. Z. All right. Now get in touch with your inner child. Arthur, he's going to pick this one.
Well, I did L for Lewis, so Arthur's going to do A for Arthur.
Oh. E.
Oh, should have done E for Emily.
Oh my gosh. Z and an E. So I am going now to make a phrase with these, such as I heard this on the Puzzler on iHeartRadio. Well, not the bag part, but the and so like 52 C's and a D, and then you have to decipher what that is. 52 C's and a D. I'm giving you an example like you like to give me. What would that be? If there's 52 C's and a D, fill in what the C and the D are.
Well, I'm confused about what. Is it just a riddle?
You're filling in the C's and the D's. It's like Wheel of Fortune, and you got a C and a D already. There are 52 C's and a D.
Okay, 52 cards and a deck.
Correct.
Yay.
Exactly. Yay. So now I got to come up with a phrase.
Sorry, that took me way too long.
Now I got to come up with a phrase with an E and a Z in it. Oh my goodness. Oh man.
I think
Why
this,
did I
this,
come?
this is harder for you than it is for me.
No kidding. Why did I come up with this game? All right. This is not political. So keep your political opinions out of this. If things continue the way they have been going, this E will cost Z dollars.
Zillion? A zillion dollars?
This E will cost Z dollars.
This elephant.
You killed Baggy again.
Oh no.
This egg will cost $1 zillion.
Oh.
No politics. We've had high egg prices under all administrations.
It's true.
All right, there you go.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Now what? Now we got to say the thing.
It's talking about them, though, not me.
We're part of them, though. half of us is part of them. Oh.
Well, listeners, thank you for listening in. As always, we couldn't have done it without you.
But I'm going to have to do it without you.